Welcome to The Next Level, conversations that propel business. The next hour is all about the entrepreneur, why they start businesses, how they make their businesses grow, how they overcome failures and achieve success. Your host, Bob Gibbons, founder of Riata Commercial Realty, a commercial real estate advisory and tenant advocacy firm. Bob will ask probing questions to find impactful solutions that will help take your business to the next level. And now, here's Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level. I'm your host, Bob Gibbons, and today I'm excited because we've got Trevor Seeley and Brian Bethel, White Pants Agency. There's got to be a good story behind that name. We'll get to that in a minute. These guys have a very interesting background. They come out of the big agency background, and I have a few other surprises about their background in the closet that we'll try to pull out as well. They are currently in Deep Ellum, and they've been in the Dallas area for, well, the company's been around for about 4 years, and so they're killing it, and we're anxious to hear all kinds of cool stuff about them, their clients, how they're helping other companies grow in the area. So, Brian Bethel, Trevor Seeley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us.
So we asked you what was something about yourself that was a little unusual or different or that not everybody knows, and Brian, you didn't answer, so we're going to go on over to Trevor.
I was going to say, Brian's probably going to have an even better answer than I did, but
you had a good one.
Yeah, well, I was a professional race car driver for about 10 years when they built Texas Motor Speedway out in 1998. We ended up starting a race car team. We started with Legends, and then it just progressively got worse as the bug got worse and worse for our family. So me and my brother and my dad, we started with Legends and ended up in ASA, ARCA, Hooters Cup cars, and constantly taking lefts, but at one point having a team of 5 guys traveling across the country 4 nights a week, and hitting Pensacola one night, Birmingham the next, et cetera, et cetera. So quite an amazing experience growing up.
It's gonna be a tough life, though.
Yeah, on the road it was absolutely very challenging, and when I was finishing up my MBA, I finally had to give it up because it was just too much time on the road. So.
Wait a minute, you're getting an MBA and being a race car driver at the same time?
Yeah, and I was also started my first company back then. It was a deer feed company, but anyways, yeah, lots of stuff going on at once.
Dang. All right. Top that, Brian.
It's hard to top the race car thing.
That is kind of a good lead, right?
I was going to say.
Does he use this like all the time you're out at a bar?
I'll tell you a funny story. I didn't believe it when I first met Trevor.
I tried to look him up last night on the line.
I thought it was BS. So then I take Trevor to a K1 racetrack, which is this. They're electric go-karts. It's kind of like a shifter cart, and we show up to this thing. And, we pay our money. We get in these little electric cars that go about 45 miles an hour. And this guy walks in, and the staff is like getting kind of, they're excited that this guy walked in. They're like, hey, this guy is the #1 K1 racer in the whole world. And he just walked into the racetrack. And so he gets on the track with all of us, and Trevor beats him like 5 or 6 times and then laps him around the whole thing. And this dude was the #1 race car, or the #1 K1.
Just smacked him down right there in front of all of his peeps.
And I was going to say, yeah, it was, the funniest part about this story is Brian didn't mention that they took me there because it was my birthday, and I was super, super duper hungover from the night before, and I didn't really process what was going on, but I think those old reflexes took over. But yeah, that was quite an experience.
That's funny.
The young gentleman was very, very upset. So
it was cool to see that.
So what is your thing? Stay up on the mic. Pretty good there.
Sorry. Mine's not as cool as that. I was a snowboard instructor at one point. I lived in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, in a trailer park called the Dream Island. Did that for a couple years. That was like 2005. So that was kind of my dream coming out of high school, to be a snowboard instructor, and that's what I did.
My dream is still to live at a ski resort somewhere and be I don't know what. For me, it'd probably be I'll be a dishwasher or something. I'm not sure I'm good enough to be an instructor or even good enough to be a ski patrol, but yeah, I would love to do that.
Oh, you got to do it. It's awesome.
That's my favorite sport of all things is skiing.
Yeah.
And I've done snowboarding, but when I learned snowboarding hadn't been invented yet. But Yeah, it's pretty awesome. You ought to try snow biking. That's pretty amazing.
I've seen
too.
Oh, I was going to say that looks really cool.
I did it in Telluride a few years ago, and I also did it in New Mexico 3 years ago. It was a lot of fun, much more intuitive and automatic. I mean, it's like no training time at all. It was just
that's
like
nice.
jump on it and go.
Yeah.
Because your feet are in these tiny little skis, and they kind of act as outriggers, and so you're always able to stabilize yourself.
Yeah.
And so I loved it. Highly recommend it. One thing I want to follow up on, though, Trevor, you said something that I thought was interesting. You said that the instincts kicked in, or something kicked in, and it was just like you were so into the automatic. Your body was trained to do certain things in a certain way, so you didn't have to think. You just did it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that there's some of that. I think that when you're trained, and I was only taking lefts, and the funny thing is this was a road course, and I never really raced on a road course professionally, but yeah, literally, there are certain principles in race car driving, when you're transitioning weight within a race car to take turns, et cetera, and how you hit the arc of a turn, and it just was second nature. I really wasn't thinking.
So have you found that to be the case in business in any way?
Oh, absolutely. I think that there are certain things that are very intuitive in business. I think that there are certain things that, for instance, if Brian and I were to try to script, it would be much worse than, if we were just to rattle off through, what was going in our brain. It would be a much better process for taking somebody through something. I think that's evident.
I'm not even thinking about the intuitive part about it so much as that you had so much practice that it just became an automatic conditioned response almost. And I'm wondering in business, is there something that you just do so frequently, so often that it just becomes an automatic response? You don't have to think about it when it's time to happen.
I think there is. I can't think of a specific example, but what I will say is in business, especially as an entrepreneur, you fail enough. When you fail enough, you learn enough, and I think that's what gives you that sort of intuition about business or even the projects that you're working on. You just get good at it after failing and trying new things and being even successful too. So
yeah, you get a world-class but very expensive education being an entrepreneur. So
yeah, kind of makes you wonder whether or not that previous education that you paid for or your parents paid for was really necessary.
It's not.
Right? Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I got an MBA, and I always say if I had to do it over again, I would not do it. I would not get one again, except if I was going to go work for someone else.
Yeah, I was going to say corporate world makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
But in terms of being an entrepreneur, I did it as well. And I have to say that if I were to look back at it, I wanted to do a couple victory laps in school and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do and was, doing the race car thing. So it made some sense. But, looking back today as an entrepreneur, absolutely not. The investment's way too much money. I mean, you can learn just by going out and being in business so much more quickly. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I will say that, when I was in college, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was probably not in a place to be one, I was too busy. I was more worried about girls and friends, than I was anything else. So college was great for me. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, there's a time and place for everything, right?
Yeah.
And when you're there, the time is not to be overly serious.
Yeah.
Time is to have fun and hang out with folks. And, it's kind of like when my kids went to college, I was probably the only dad who said, are you joining groups? Are you having fun? Are you going out? And, everybody else is like, what grades are you getting? What's your, like, I don't really care about that too much. I want to know, because I was the one that applied myself in college, and I didn't have a lot of friends in the commuter college I went to. I can't tell you 5 people that I graduated with, which is pretty sad, right? But I was a commuter guy. I was paying 100% of my school, all this stuff. I was dating somebody off campus. So I didn't really get involved. And that was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
And if I had to do that over again, oh man, I would have been involved in everything. And yeah, I would have still tried to get good grades, but a B. In fact, the B and A students work for the C students now.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times the B and C students are the entrepreneurs, right?
Yep.
Anyway, well, cool. Well, let's go back to your sort of how did White Pants Agency get going, and what in the world's with the name?
Well, let's start with the name. It's not as cool of a story as I'd like. Me and Trevor talked about making up a bunch of different stories that, and maybe even videoing them to come up with some crazy ideas on how we came up with the name. But how we came up with the name was our investors, a guy named Bill Hutchinson. He runs Dunhill Partners, and they own the Design District.
Yep.
Was it west side of town? Yeah, west side of town. And when we started the company, we knew he was going to be our investor, and so we were kind of pitching names back and forth one day at lunch, and White Pants was one of the names that came up. He was wearing white pants at the time. I had just seen a movie called Night of the White Pants that was filmed here in Dallas, and it was literally one of the names that came up. Later on, when we were formally talking about our investment, we went through our pitch deck. We had this whole thing lined up of how we were going to start this business. And he was like, guys, I don't need to see all this. I believe in you. You guys are going to do it. He goes, but what are we going to call this thing? He goes, I like White Pants. And me and Trevor were kind of throwing out other names. He's like, no, if I'm going to put in the money, you're going to name it after me. And it fits because he's the kind of guy, that will wear, white pants and a red blazer to, like a tuxedo event.
And that long hair.
He's kind of a rock star, yeah.
I was going to say, yeah, he's definitely the Richard Branson of Dallas is kind of how it would be the best description.
That is a great description. Now, I've only met him once, but he spoke to a group that I'm in, and, yeah, he definitely has that persona.
Just a fantastic guy, and, yeah, I think that it's funny how we actually got to it, but we decided we just couldn't be authentic with our story, so...
So how did you know Bill?
I met Bill in 2009. I was just graduating college then, and he was opening up a bar called Lemon Bar. And then I was friends with his wife's family at the time, and he asked me to help him on Lemon Bar, and we did that project together. And we were very successful. I think at the time, #1 liquor sales in Dallas for at least a couple months. So that's how I met Bill, got a good relationship with him, and he's been our angel, so to speak, our angel investor. And I think he's that for a lot of different people in Dallas too. That's one of the things that I learned early on is you got to find someone to believe in you, and not just believe in you enough to write a check.
Oh yeah.
And he does that for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people like that in Dallas. So
a lot of people that will write the checks?
Not just write checks, but believe in you. It's a great place to do business, and it's a great place to raise money. I just think that
it's a special city right now.
Yeah.
I truly believe that the stuff that's going on that we see around us, we see very talented people with, I think in the past, with the economic downturn, it would have been challenging for them to get money. But we see a lot of people who are, being enabled to do things and doing amazing things out there. And it's a really special time to be, kind of in the circles we are and watching people really kind of their ideas succeed and thrive. And we're seeing a lot of special stuff, a lot of innovation, and it's exciting just to watch everybody succeed. So
I'm really happy to hear that because we've had quite a few investors here on the show that have said the opposite, that Dallas is a really hard place to raise money, and they go other places to raise that money, whether it's Austin or the Silicon Valley or someplace else. So I'm glad to hear you guys have a different experience. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
great.
Hi, my name is Fern, and I've been an empowered team member at Alkali for over 5 years. I first learned about Alkali through an online job board and was intrigued to learn that Alkali was a Dave Ramsey endorsed local provider. But what captivated me was Alkali's mission statement, which is closely aligned with my own beliefs. So what's kept me at Alkali for over 5 years? First, Alkali's 5 core values match my own. Second, I've been empowered to use my unique abilities to impact our community, our clients, and Alkali. If you'd like to learn more about becoming an empowered Alkali team member, visit our website, alkaliservices.com. That's ALKALI services.com.
We're back. We were talking to Brian Bethel and Trevor Seeley of White Pants Agency. And all right, so we talked about Bill Hutchison being your investor. So, but why did you decide you wanted to start your own agency in the first place?
I was running another agency. I was sort of on the executive board with 5 other guys. And we had just won a very big account that took that agency international to like 40 different countries.
Oh, my.
And we were looking to expand in those countries, so we were looking to raise some money in order to be able to do that. And so I had already had a previous relationship with Bill, and he sort of mentored me through that process of how to raise money, how to put together a deck, what the investors would be looking for. And we get through the whole process, at the point where, he's considering writing a check or not. And it was his idea, ultimately. He was, why would I write a check for that? You guys have done a great job with that business. But I've got a better opportunity just investing in you, and then I could give you the opportunity of a lifetime, to start your own company. So that's what we did.
That's interesting because it's not very often that I hear that it's actually the investor who's pushing the entrepreneur to start. It's the other way around.
Yeah.
And the entrepreneur has this great idea, and then you got to go talk to 500 people to get the money raised. So I mean, you're a unicorn here.
Well, I don't know. I think it comes down, what Trevor and I have had the opportunity to be on the other side and to make small investments in companies. We're nothing at the stage that Bill is. But what we've learned is that it's not always about the business. It is. The business is very important, but it's more the people, the person that's running it, and their tenacity and their intelligence and their ability to get things done is what's important. And so I think when you meet somebody like that, when I have the chance to meet somebody like that, it's very easy for me to want to invest in that person and to think of creative ways to make them the most successful, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with Brian. I think investing in the people is probably the biggest thing we've learned, and at the beginning of our business. So we kind of have a small incubator at our office where we get equity for other companies and, we invest in other companies and we bring them in and we help them with the services we can offer. But, I think it's just very interesting to see that we've had a lot of failures in terms of great business ideas that were poorly executed, but we've had a lot of great successes with individuals who are just really talented and driven. And I think that those are the things that we look to invest in. So it has to be a good idea, but
Sure.
An excellent idea poorly executed isn't really anything.
It's interesting you talk about betting on the person, betting on the entrepreneur. It reminds me of the Angel List podcast, which if you haven't listened to that, it's really interesting because it's the Angel List platform online for investing in other companies at the angel stage. Angel List was created for that, and so they created a podcast where they interview the angel investors about why they invest in whatever company and how do they decide what company to invest in and all this kind of thing. And often those guys say, you know what, I'm betting on the person. The fact that they've failed in 2 or 3 other companies doesn't really matter that much because you know what, they're gonna succeed in some at some point.
And they're going to bring that knowledge forward.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I think we need to mention that unicorn name is not going away. We're going to remember that after the show. That's your new nickname, Brian, just FYI.
He's going to find a little horn to stick on his forehead here soon.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Yeah, by the time he gets back to the office.
So then, Trevor, how did you come into the picture?
So, funny story. I was running several divisions of a privately held corporation out of Fort Worth, pretty large one. And I was on the other side of the table. One of the divisions was marketing. And, Brian at the time I had interviewed a lot of agencies and we were actually looking to bid some business. But Brian became a good friend of mine. I met him through what I call my little sister. She's not blood, but I've known her since she was, an infant. So he said one night he was hanging out at my house and I guess his boom mic guy canceled at midnight or so, and he was like, hey, do you want to come shoot this music video with me? And he was producing a music artist at the time, and I was like, well, yeah, he's like, you're tall, you can hold this boom mic. I was like, yeah, I'm not qualified, but absolutely, let's do this. So
I don't think you realized how heavy a boom mic gets after an hour.
Well, and then, then 18 hours of filming later, I'm like, yeah, that boom mic was pretty heavy. He's not wrong about that. But, over the weekend, we became really, really good friends and kind of heard about what he was doing. And I said, I can run the backside of this business as well as I think it's important to have a client perspective going forward, which I think is unique about our business because I came from the other side of the table. He's big agency. He's one of the best strategists probably in the Southwest, if not the world. And, bringing the client side and also then having the, the great agency side to it. So you kind of get the mesh of both. So you get the best, I think, client experience out of our company.
Yeah, we've got 2 good skill sets. I'm not the most organized person, and sometimes managing clients can get stressful to me. I like, to be a strategist and think creatively and and be process oriented with my production team. I really like process and building those things out. And what Trevor brings is really that client side of the business, which is super important in advertising and marketing. Because that's what it's all about. Is how our relationship is with the client and making sure we're getting the work done that we say we're going to do.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's probably even a bigger thing about entrepreneurship. If you're thinking about jumping off and starting your own company, When you think about, am I doing this alone, or am I going to walk this road with somebody else or multiple other people? And I think that, Brian and I, through all the partnerships we've done and we've been through, have learned a lot of different things. But I think one of the most important things is kind of that you know what your skill set is, and that if you are going to partner with somebody else, that you know what they're good at, and it kind of complements each other, that there's a lot of good overlap, and all those things make sense, but that you guys are really, really strong in those areas that the other one isn't, because it really fills out. And also with your employee or with your workforce as well. When we hire folks, a lot of times we're looking for people who fill weaknesses that we've developed, or in areas that are not our best, going forward.
Yeah.
So you have Bill as your investor. He's obviously invested in other companies. He's a big real estate, retail real estate guy. So has he also been a source of clients for you?
Yeah. So that's, it was very strategic in the beginning. So when we launched, not only did he give us the capital to start, in agencies, although it's a service-based business, you still have to have you have to have the skill sets in order to get the work done. And if you don't launch with revenue or client, then you don't have the money to pay for those skill sets. So he paid for that in the beginning, but he also gave us our first clients, which would be Dunhill Partners, all of his properties, many of his other investments. He walked us into sort of his other entrepreneurs that he's invested in, and at that time he had just purchased the design district, and so we launched with that account as well, which we're still doing. I think those are all the ones that we started with, was just those. And then quickly after that, we started working with Mary Kay, and a couple other big clients.
So what do you do for Mary Kay?
Mary Kay, we did some project work in social media. So we did a lot of content development, a lot of community management online, just managing their social media really, and doing some photo shoots specifically for social media.
So give us a rundown on sort of what is the unique value proposition of White Pants Agency. Are you a full-service advertising marketing firm of all types, or are you more specific into the digital area, or what?
Yeah, we are not full service, although we do act in a full-service capacity for some of our clients. But our skill set, what I like to say, is we're digital strategists at heart. We have all the skill sets to run, social media or pay-per-click or paid search or paid advertising or content development, even video production. But what we are really good at is sort of looking at a client's bigger picture, and looking at sort of what their goals are, what their budget is, kind of taking in all the inputs and coming up with a larger strategy for that client, and then kind of executing that for them. So a client, like a big client of ours, is Movie Tavern. Southern Theaters is the holding company. They're maybe the 5th or 6th largest movie theater chain in the U.S., according to Wikipedia. But they outsource their entire digital department to us. So we do everything online, their website, the transactional stuff that happens online, buying a movie ticket, to all the advertising, paid search and remarketing and all the things that kind of drive their business. And then, those are kind of the tangibles of what we do. But again, going back to the strategy part is, making sure that we're competing against their competitors in each individual marketplace and being very strategic with the money that they have available with advertising. So for me as a strategist, it's a really fun game. It's like playing a board game. You have sort of all your competitors, and then you have sort of all your cards that you're able to play, and you got to play them the best way that you can in order to kind of beat as many competitors as you can out.
So kind of, as I hear you talking about that, the traditional full-service advertising agencies seem to be dying, because it seems like everybody's going over to digital one way or the other. So as you were talking, I was thinking, well, all right, you are a full-service digital agency,
Yeah.
but you're not necessarily going to be the right one for sort of advertising in the newspaper, if anybody reads those anymore, or a magazine, or doing some sort of TV ad necessarily. But ads are everywhere in the digital space, and everything's digital anymore when it comes to that stuff.
The problem is we could be very good at buying TV. We have those relationships, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I would never recommend it. So if somebody comes to me and wants to buy a spot in the newspaper, or just has some idea that they want to do buying just traditional TV, it's just nothing I would recommend. I would go, well, let's think about this. So how can we get a better ROI?
Yeah, I was going to say on a lot of different types of spend. Now, I think that to Brian's point, and when we kind of talk about our unique position or unique selling position, we're a speedboat in a land of cruise ships, which is really, really nice because we're agile. It really allows us to do some amazing things. We can absolutely execute on the core competencies, whether it's paid media, SEO, all these kind of, this myriad of stuff that we need to do for a full service digital shop at the level of anybody who's playing, probably even better. But at the end of the day, all these channels are getting very, very saturated, whether it's Facebook, Google, and the way people are consuming media. You're getting inundated with ads 24/7 as you scroll through your feed, and it's how do you stand out? And if you're Coca-Cola or something like that, yes, do you have to play in those same spaces, and are you doing running TV ads, and does it make sense? Absolutely. But when people come to us with the traditional paid media budget and they say, this is what we want and these are our goals, well, typically it's you need to do something bold, and we're going to give you that answer. And if you want to spend it that way, we'll do it proficiently. But what you really get is you get some actual somebody to say, hey, we'd recommend this. We can do this for you, but based on what you said, this is why we think you should do this, and probably give you a pretty good explanation. So,
All right. We'll be right back. Cool. We're back. So who is your ideal client?
Man, bigger the better.
I didn't realize that was going to be a stumper.
Well, no, I think at the end of the day, the big clients, big budgets are absolutely stuff we like, because then it's not, somebody's last dollar. But we work with a lot of small companies. We work with small to mid-sized companies, not a problem at all. Obviously, everybody likes huge budgets, because then it's not, the guy who's, whole business is riding on you, and he's calling you every day, and, he's really, really stressed, which might make you more stressed even if you believe in your strategy, but it just makes it more stressful. Whereas, somebody's sending you $1 million to go film a commercial, and, they aren't checking every 5 minutes about it, and it's just a less stressed situation. So.
Yeah, we work with, like Trevor said, clients across the board, big, small, across every industry. Like, if you were to name a brand, I've probably worked with it in the last 5 years.
So you're not specific to any particular kind of industry, consumer goods?
I would hate that, because then you don't get to think creatively about, it'd be like playing, like back to the board game analogy, it'd be like playing the same board game over and over and over and over. And I think what I'm good at is playing board games, not.
Yeah, we like we like to learn. We like to develop new strategies for everything. We like to be bleeding edge. We're technology agnostic, so we'll go with whatever new technology is coming out. And our space moves so quickly that we have to be like that. I mean, that yet again, back to the cruise ship versus the speedboat, that allows us to be the speedboat. And, I think our ideal client is somebody. Let's take budgets aside. I think if you actually ask Brian and I at our heart what our ideal client is, somebody who wants to be bold.
Yeah.
Because if they want to allow us to go out and do something really, really cool, we'll shoestring a budget together for you. I mean, we do it all the time. We're entrepreneurs. We love small business.
So give me an example of bold. What does bold mean?
Well,
what have you seen that's been bold?
So, I mean, they're just like a digital campaign. So if we talk to, and we were talking to a company recently that decided to, do some traditional stuff, but we pitched them just an absolutely, and they served a type of oil, and I'm not going to name the company, but they decided to go a different direction. But if they would have allowed us to, we put together a digital strategy that, had a full interactive component, in stores we just layered on a lot of different components, and I don't want to give away the whole thing because it's probably Brian's, where we'll sell it to somebody else, but just an incredible strategy that, allows you to do something game-changing as opposed to just doing what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think, tactics and strategies and ways to be creative that are changing every day in our industry, right? Digital's right now, as we're sitting here, something is changing in our landscape. And definitely every 6 months it's completely flipped over. And so clients by nature are conservative, right? If you're spending cash or you're managing a budget, you're conservative and you want to do something that has proven success before. But the guys that are making big, bold statements and taking market share are the ones that are willing to take a risk and willing to do something a little differently than everybody else. I mean, a good example would be like Poopery is a client we've worked with before. Their whole business model is disruptive in nature. It's created a whole new product. Not only is the product different and they're talking about it a different way, but their marketing is insane. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. And they're doing it in a, like, not necessarily an offensive way, but it's right on the border. Most clients would never even get close to that. If a client says they're willing to get close to that, that kind of gets us riled up a little bit. It gets us excited.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Poopery, was that started as a sort of a viral campaign? It wasn't in mass media by any stretch at the beginning, was it?
It was a company for a little while, and it did well. And then I can't remember the owner's name, but I've had the fortune to meet her, and she's very smart, and she's a very creative and intelligent person. But she came up with that idea to do something funny that would just make people laugh and get connected with it, and that thing took off, like millions,
Like
and millions,
10,
and millions of views.
10x overnight revenue. So, it's a huge game-changing thing, but it's making those bold moves. And when somebody allows us to do that, and there's a lot of different ways, and, even if they allow us to, kind of mildly go that way, that's stuff that excites us.
Yeah. Now, do you guys have to go pitch business in a beauty contest with a bunch of other agencies, or are those days kind of gone?
No, yeah, we do. Most of our business doesn't come from sort of like what you see on TV, like Mad Men, but we just got out of a huge one last week. I can't talk about it yet, but I'll email you and tell you which one it is. But yeah, we just competed against Richard's Group, and then there's another big agency, I can't remember.
I was going to say, there were roughly 40 agencies that submitted bids on a massive, massive contract here in town, and there were, just a very, very short list, and we were brought back for a final round, and we're feeling very confident. So,
congratulations.
Yeah.
Now, were all 40 of those agencies from local agencies, or they were all over the country?
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but
most of them were here.
Mostly local, but there was
10 that were, and the ones that made the short list besides us were sort of, they have offices all over the country.
But let's put that in perspective. I mean, Richards Group is giant.
I think it's the biggest agency in town.
Well, and it's the biggest independent agency in the country, isn't it?
That's correct.
So, I mean, they've got hundreds of employees, and you guys have, what, 12?
12.
12 full-time, and then some
We
contractors?
got about 18 contractors.
So you just spanked the big boys. So that's,
we hope we spanked them.
so you don't know yet?
We don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Still, but I mean, even to be in that same
just to be in that
hunt.
room, at the very end, to be shortlisted, for them to say, "Hey, you guys' ideas were so poignant that we want to bring you back," and the clout of all these people and their client lists and all that doesn't stand up to what the information you gave us. That's a
Right.
pretty special feeling to be in that position and say, "Hey, you guys are so smart and you were relatable at such a level that we want to bring you guys in and say, hey," and the fact that I'm hopeful we actually got it. I think that might actually be a thing here in the next couple of weeks. So
I mean, we beat them all the time.
oh yeah, that's factual too. But yeah,
and the feedback we get, is that you guys are small. This is something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is like, you guys are small. You guys are going to give us the attention that we need as a client. You're going to make us feel special because, a client like Movie Tavern is something that we pitched against some very large agencies. I think one of them was Maroc.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they chose us is because they were our biggest client at the time, and they were going to get, sort of that, all the attention that it's, their account means the world to us. It's very, very important to us. It feeds us, and it gets a lot of attention. So that's what, clients kind of choose us for, I think.
Well, and I like the David and Goliath kind of thing because, I'm a small independent in my industry. And so I always will tell a client, look, you can go to one of the giants and they'll maybe take your business, but are you going to matter to them?
yeah.
You mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be a major focus. I'm going to put a lot of time and effort, and you're going to get great service from me. From them,
Yeah.
maybe they'll remember you next month. Maybe they won't. So I think, with you guys, you obviously have a whole different level of focus that somebody else may not have.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yeah, and I think that's important for clients as well. They get to have Brian and I's cell phones. So, 12 p.m. on a Saturday night and you need something immediately, we're going to figure out how to get it done for you. So, and that's just a different customer experience.
Yeah. Now, one thing I thought was interesting in the pre-interview material, I had asked the question, what is your marketing strategy to reach your ideal client? And I was expecting to have some sort of really grand, digital strategy. And no, you say we're a referral-driven shop.
Yeah, which I think we said we're a little you're going to be shocked to hear this, but yeah, we are. So, it's good to have clients that like us so much that trust us to refer us to friends. I think that that's a special place to also be in.
That's where we all want to be.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think, well, shouldn't you be doing the same things for yourselves that you would be doing for clients?
What's the saying?
The cobbler has no shoes.
Exactly.
Cobbler's
Yeah,
children
that's
have
what
no
it
shoes.
We're spending so much time on our clients. We are a very lean team. We have all these grand initiatives to redo a website and make sure that we get all of our remarketing up, but all of our time goes to our clients, and so it's tough to be able to.
So I was going to say, over the course of the last year, and I think coming into 2019, Brian and I are going to be able to transition that a little bit. It's to be able to scale but be able to maintain what we have, I think is very a core of me and Brian's business. We want to keep our culture, our internal, we like the way our shop's set up. We like the employees we've had. We've had a lot of expensive education, as we kind of talked about, all the entrepreneurial fails that you can run through, and all the challenges. But we're at such a good spot now, and we're setting up the processes, procedures, so we can still be a small shop, but we can actually get to a larger size. And I think that that's been our goal, because at one point, I think we grew to like 40 people overnight, and
We grew way too big, way too fast, and that was one of the expensive educations that Trevor's talking about. Is we couldn't keep up, and we learned a lot. And so what we're trying to do now is choose our clients really wisely, that people we want to work with on stuff that we know that we can execute, and grow slowly so that we can make sure that that client's taken care of, it's got the resources it needs, and then grow from there instead of just bringing in as much as we possibly can.
Yeah, and being able to replicate Brian and myself, but training our team so that all of that's being done so well that then we can exponentially grow that with new team members, so they can train other team members so that they have a deep enough understanding of how we think, how we put it together, so that the customer experience doesn't vary, so that then we can actually grow exponentially, but you don't get more poor results or poorer results.
When is it accurate to say that your best advertising for yourself is what you've done for somebody else? Because I would think that why do I care that much about learning about you and having some fancy thing about you? But I want to see what you've done for a client. I mean, it's a case study, right?
Bob, we're stealing that.
Well, you've already stolen the unicorn thing.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You gave me 2 nuggets. This is better than I thought I'd do today. I mean, it's only 10.
What's funny is, we're talking about sort of outbound advertising and things we do besides referrals and whatnot. One of the best things that we did, we moved in this awesome space in Deep Ellum. It's a really cool building, but we never had any signage up. It's just our office. One day I was like, we got to put our logos and stuff on the outside. So I ordered a bunch of logos. Trevor's got one on his computer there, and we stuck them. They're just big stickers we stuck on the window, and we started getting phone calls.
We have massive windows outside of our office. Like they're like 5 huge windows. I don't know their dimensions, but 2 stories tall and like, I don't know.
Maybe 80 or 100 feet wide.
I mean,
it just says White Pants Agency, huge digital marketing across the front of it. It's kind of funny. And we started getting phone calls, so it worked.
It worked so well. It was actually, I'm looking at Brian and I'm saying, these $300 in decals. If we had gone out and spent $20,000 on paid media, because yet again it's saturated, but it would have been much more cost. This has been so much more cost effective. It's been insane.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to take one more break. We'll be right back. Hi, this is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty. If your office lease is going to be expiring in the next year or two, the one thing I would tell you definitely do not want to do is exercise a renewal option. Now, that may sound a little nuts. When you negotiate for that renewal option, why wouldn't you actually want to use it? Well, the reason is because while you want to have one as a reservation for your space so the landlord can't lease the space out from under you, that option may not actually work the way you want it to now. It may have made sense 5 years ago, but it doesn't today. The only thing that changes when you exercise a renewal option are the expiration date and the rent. But you may want to do other things like have another option to renew, have an option to terminate or expand. You may want to be able to expand now or have a new base year for your operating expenses. There's all kinds of things that need to be considered. So we recommend that you renegotiate, not renew. For more information, contact me, Bob Gibbons, at texastenantrep.com. That's texastenantrep.com. We're back. We're talking to Brian Bethel and Trevor Seeley from White Pants Agency, and you can find them online at whitepantsagency.com. Can't believe we're in the 4th segment here, and I'm just now mentioning that. All right, so you guys had talked a little bit earlier. In fact, I think, Trevor, you'd mentioned something about an incubator and investing in other companies. So what is that all about?
Yeah, well, Brian and I are passionate about business. We're serial entrepreneurs. I know he and I are for the next 30 years or more, however long we can manage to stay on this planet. We'll be investing in business, investing in people, trying to help everybody around us succeed. But yeah, so in our shop, we basically got a lot of auxiliary offices. We've invested in 3 different companies right now that reside with us. Buckbrush, which is essentially like a Sonicare toothbrush you order online, but then every month, or actually every quarter, they send you 4 new heads, and they're basically $1 a head. So you're getting a new clean toothbrush head. Very, very smart business model. We met some individuals who are engineers by trade, and one's an attorney.
The cool thing about that, and I'll kind of shamelessly sell it, is that toothbrush is like equivalent to like a $200 Sonicare, and it costs $35. And then the brush heads are $1, and they send you one every month.
It's $1, and it's once a month.
Yeah,
It's
and
$1
instead
and
of
it's once a month.
instead of $5 heads, it's $200 toothbrush.
Or $20 heads for the expensive toothbrushes, and the thing's incredible. It's just absolutely insane what these guys have done for the price point. And
Well, no kidding, because I just was in Walmart just recently buying another one of those kind of brushes for my father-in-law. He's in a nursing home now, unfortunately. But I mean, that's sort of like $35 is sort of the starting point, even at Walmart, for goodness sake. So, I mean, if you guys can do that for $35 and have $1 a head, I mean, that blows me away.
yeah, because you definitely are buying those heads to replace that at Walmart at $1 a piece. So
Buckbrush.com.
yeah, Buckbrush.com. We'll shamelessly plug them. Really excited about that, and we're doing some awesome things for them. We've got another company we just launched, which is really, really exciting for us. It's called Policy Pickers. Allows you to go out and basically source a life insurance, and some individuals can get just qualified and get their policy instantly online, which is very, very unique. It's brand new to the marketplace, and we're really excited about that.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is if you've ever tried to buy life insurance, you have to call the carriers, and you have to call each individual carrier to get all their prices, or you have to call sort of a sales agent who's going to bother the heck out of you and try to sell you life insurance, and you don't necessarily know the quality of that individual or what he's actually trying to sell you. So this allows you to kind of go online and see all the policies from every major carrier in one place. And it's amazing that nobody's created that yet. It doesn't exist. We're the only ones that have it. And so you can go on and you can see quotes from everybody based on the information you put in, the type of insurance that you want, your health score. Very simple. It takes 1 minute to do, and you get to see sort of all the policies that are available to you. And in some cases, if you have good health and you don't smoke, you can actually buy that policy right online.
No nurse visit or no doctor visit, no time at all. So
What's interesting about that, you guys told me about that, and it turned out that I knew the founder of that from way back in a little bit different life, and I actually went on to the website for that. And what was funny to me about this is that I had just been on a social media platform where there was a teaser for life insurance, and one of my life policies had just come up for expiration. We decided not to renew it. So I just out of curiosity clicked on that one on social media. And it kind of, at first I was like, well, this is the same as Policy Pickers.
Yeah.
In fact, I wondered, is it Policy Pickers? Well, you go down the line on that other one, and they keep kind of teasing you with these low rates and all this nonsense. And at the end, you don't get to get anything. They don't give you any quotes. They don't give you nothing.
Yep.
All they get you is, oh, well, we're going to have somebody call you. And
They
then
call those lead farms,
Yeah, and so then you're talking to some salesperson who's trying to, and then, the teaser of like $35 a month turned out, for me anyway, to be like $250 a month. It was total crap. Whereas I went on to Policy Pickers, and it was just like advertised. I mean, it walked me through the questions. At the end of the point, at the end of the thing, I got all my quotes. I could have clicked on any one of them and bought one. So, I mean, that really spoke a lot, because it wasn't a bait and switch.
Well, we appreciate that. And it's disruptive and that's what's awesome in industry, when you disrupt an industry and say, hey, this is how you're doing it. But transparency is fine. I mean, there's not a lot of money per policy in it, but it's a volume thing. But consumers want that access to information. They want, and they want it instantly, and that's what we're giving to them.
Oh, so. And the other thing I thought was amazing is I didn't have to put in all my information.
No.
I got those quotes before they even knew who I was.
Yeah, you don't have to put in any information. No
Now
phone
you probably knew
number.
who I was with my IP address, but
It definitely remarkets you. But yeah, we get that at the end. You know, if you decide you want to buy it, you put in your information, and then Jay Lewis, who
his
runs
team.
that, will actually call you. And you know, he's the founder. He came up with that idea. So when you finish that whole process, he's the guy that's going to call you on the phone afterwards.
he's a very bright guy.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. So those are two companies. You have any others you want to mention?
I would say Central Track is something we've been doing for a while. CentralTrack.com is a online media company here, and it really focuses on the music scene here in Dallas. And so it's a passion of Trevor and I. We're big into music. Like Trevor said, I've invested and produced artists prior to this life, and it's a passion project for us. You know, we like the culture of Dallas. We want to invest in the culture in Dallas, and that's what Central Track is. So check it out, centraltrack.com. We've got hundreds of stories that go out every day there. It's sort of like, I don't know, the music section of the Dallas Observer, but even better and cooler.
Oh, I have to go check it out.
Yeah.
It's TRACK, the whole word.
Yeah.
It's not like X or something
No,
like that.
centraltrack.com. It comes from,
Railroad.
yeah, there's a railroad that ran through Deep Ellum, and it was sort of the intersection of all types of communities in Dallas. If you know anything about Deep Ellum, they used to call Deep Ellum Central Track because of the railroad that ran through there. And so you had all different types of people, you know, from every walks of life, sort of commingling in Deep Ellum. And so that's sort of the premise of Central Track. It's not just, you know, D Magazine really focuses maybe on the elites in Dallas, and you've got, you've got different publications that really focus on a certain population. This focuses really on sort of that mix, I guess the portion of the population that mixes together, or everybody.
Yeah.
So is it
Good.
really more for the musicians, or is it?
No.
For everybody,
It's
yeah.
more of a
Okay.
lifestyle of. If you go down to Deep Ellum right now and you see the cross section of individuals, because Deep Ellum has just been booming. I mean,
very
we're just
eclectic.
watching it. Like the Epic is being built right by us, which is going to be the largest building by square foot, I think, in Dallas. You look at the cross sections of our culture that are down there every night, especially you go down there on a Friday or Saturday and just walk around, and compared to what it was, and 50 bars and restaurants since in the last 18 months being open down there, and just it's an insanely it's just insane what's going on down there. But I think Central Track kind of embodies this like coming together of all those things, with a strong music focus, what to do, things to do, but as well as there's some social commentary. Some of the writers are very Vice News-ish. So it's just a fun thing, and we enjoy having those folks on board and doing some special things for them in terms of their website and advertising.
So what are the biggest opportunities you see coming down the pike in your industry or for your company in particular?
Yeah, there's a big shift, like you said, into digital, which happened a couple years ago. But there's also this shift away from these large agencies, looking to partner with, clients are looking to partner with smaller shops like us that'll give them that focus. So, and a little bit more, I think, thought leadership into what they're doing, and to be a little bit more strategic in how they grow their business. So that's the opportunity we saw when we started this business, and sort of the opportunity we're going after, I think.
So what do you guys have anything to do with like this whole influencer economy that's created on Instagram and all these other platforms where now you have these sort of nobodies, so to speak, that become celebrities, and then all of a sudden they really move the needle for a new product whenever they start endorsing it.
I'll relate it back to the music industry. If you look at the music industry in the 80s and 90s, you had a couple rock star bands, like Nirvana, Led Zeppelin. You had these celebrities.
Iconic, but there were only a couple.
There's only a couple, and now, that Napster changed the world, right? And now you have Spotify, which is that version of it that costs $10 a month. It's no longer free, but
Not that you're bitter.
I love Napster. No. So it changed the landscape for bands. There's so much music out there, and you could go on for forever probably listening to bands, and everybody has an opportunity to be a famous musician. What it takes away is sort of the rock stars. Very few rock stars. You got Kanye and a couple others. So it minimized the number of rock stars, but it gave way to all these great artists. And it's the
Just
same thing.
just creates a bunch of niches. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the way, because people are consuming media different now. So I think that that's important. And, I think the social influencer, and we've got, a lot of proprietary software and procedures that we use to do like the micro influencer campaigns for a lot of different companies. And I think it's an emerging space. I think that all the channels are so saturated right now with the traditional type digital stuff we do, whether it's paid media, SEO, et cetera, that it's really the most cost-effective way. And I think that there's shifts coming in our industry based on that. I think it's going to be very interesting to see, and we're, it's a fun game to play right now, because we can get, some really, really great ROI for companies if we strategize and set it up correctly.
Yeah, it's, everybody has a voice, and if you can leverage those voices as sort of your media outlet, it's like having a bunch of, like 100 radio stations, getting your voice out there. We do it all the time. We've been doing it for, 5 or 6 years.
Now, with pay-per-click and a lot of the online marketing opportunities that are really more performance-based, I guess I would call them, are you seeing that trickle to the agency model as well, where you're having to change the way you price your services because of that clients are expecting to pay for the performance for the result, not for the activity that hopefully gets to a result?
Well, we sell time. So like a lawyer would, we kind of come up with the amount of time it's going to take to do a project. We don't, unlike a lawyer, we don't start to charge you thereafter. We stick to our quote. It's frustrating when you get into business and you have to start paying lawyers, and they quote you, $5,000, and then you're at $12,000, which just happened to us. It sucks. But
It does.
It comes down to, that type of media. We like to be very transparent. There's a lot of shops out there that say, like, I'm going to sell you per impression, and it's going to be a certain dollar amount. But we like to be transparent, and
I mean, I was gonna say, you get what you pay for, and we really believe that transparency is the best way to operate our business. There's a couple different ways to do it, as Brian said, but we like to keep it all above board here at our place and just tell people.
Well, we're going to have to leave it at that. Thank you guys for being our guests today. Really appreciate it. Brian Bethel, Trevor Seeley, whitepantsagency.com, policypickers.com, centraltrack.com,
and
buckbrush.com.
Yeah.
And if you're not tired of .comming, please go to nextlevelshow.com and look me up. And you can find us on YouTube and on podcast at The Next Level Show. We'll be back next week with another great guest.
Thank you, Bob.
Hey, thanks, Bob.